Hello and welcome to Property Question Time. I'm Stephen Galton and this is the programme where you can have your property related questions answered by our team of property experts. Joining me today are Trisha Harvey, Real Life Group co-founder. Hi Trisha, how are you?
Hi. Very good, very good. Nice to be back.
Good journey down?
Long. It's worth it, Stephen, it's worth it.
Okay. Evan MacDonald, property developer, CEO of Melt Homes, public speaker and mentor. Welcome to you, Evan.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. And finally, Mark Harvey, founder of Real Life Group. Again, mentor, public speaker and general property expert. Welcome to you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good. Okay. Trish, I'm going to start with your first question, which is a little bit lengthy, but I'm sure you'll be able to help. A number of specialist buy-to-let lenders offer long-term mortgages for the purchase of such properties, even if one is approaching retirement age. Such mortgages would not, as I understand it, be available if it was for the purpose of buying your own home. I guess the difference is that the lender would be looking at the potential rental income rather than one's personal income when making a suitability assessment. Would the same buy-to-let terms be available if it was for the purpose of buying an HMO property?
And breathe. So that's a great question. Firstly, I am not a broker or FCA regulated, so always check and go and seek advice from the experts in that regard. See what's available for you in your personal circumstances. But in regards to commercial buying, which is obviously not a residential mortgage, it's commercial with your HMOs and things like that, it is seen as an investment. So it's an asset that you're buying, so they will look very similarly to a buy-to-let. What's the rental income? The mortgage, if you're going to be remortgaging at the end to pull money back out, or you're going to leave money in there. So they analyse it in a different way. So definitely looking at it more as an asset.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
That's a yes. Okay.
But check based on your circumstances.
Okay, Mark, have you got anything to add to that? Because you're in cahoots with your partner there.
So I think based on what the person is asking, they want to do a HMO and they're wondering, will they be able to get lending based on that it's an income producing asset rather than they're going to live there?
Well, rather than their age, I think is the critical thing.
Yeah, rather than their age, but they do that, but they wouldn't do that for residential. So it's like, yeah, of course, they look at it totally different because it's a totally different situation. So like different products apply. And if you're going from like, there's a residential, which is highly regulated, and then there's commercial, which is still regulated, but there's more of a conversation that happens, more common sense, more, variability that can happen in different situations. So just look into that.
I think the classic lesson though is there again, get your professional team together, isn't it? Good broker can be worth $1 million. Do the experts think that government should involve itself in things like help to buy schemes and help to buy ISAs, as basically the costs are paid for by the taxpayer? Now, this is quite relevant because we've seen a lot of publicity over the last few months where some commentators have been saying that the help to buy schemes probably help the developers a lot more than it's helped the general public. We've also had in 2015 Cameron and Osborne announced huge £2.5 billion into first time buyer homes, and apparently none under that scheme have been built and the budget for that has been withdrawn. So we've got all sorts of promises now coming into the election season. Is it a taxpayer responsibility, do you think?
Yeah, I think with the help to buy, it is really good. And I think what you're saying, pointing it out, it is just really difficult. Salaries and house prices, they just don't match. So I know it's obviously being looked at all the time.
But have they ever?
But no, and I think that the challenge is, like right now, it's a buyer's market, certainly with mortgage rates the way that they are. There's a lot of things helping people out there, but the help to buy, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I just have to say on this, I mean, Evan, I think you said that people can't afford to buy at the prices they are today. But that's been the case ever since I can remember. I mean, I've said it on this programme before. I bought my first house when it was £2,000. And I thought, when I sold it for $3,000, I thought I was some kind of millionaire, and I never for sure thought it would go to $4,000.
Wow.
Well, heaven knows what it is today. But it's the availability of sensible funding, surely, that's the critical factor here.
My view on the whole situation is a little bit different, because the way I look at it is because when we first bought our first house, we were allowed to put a very low deposit down, which allowed us to, so-called get on the ladder. But then, over time, if the market doesn't move much, or if it goes down just a tiny bit, then it's not a good situation to be in.
You're into negative equity, aren't
Yeah,
you?
so either way, it's always going to come back to whether people, this word that goes around, can afford, and that's what it's all about, the schemes to help people buy. It's like, if we're focusing on how do we help people buy because they're only earning a certain amount of money, or actually, what if we focused on helping people be more resourceful, make more money, build, better lives for themselves, then there's more affordability, let's call it. I mean, I'm not sure I like this word afford, can afford, can't afford, but like actually help people exchange more value within society, then we're not looking at this problem. Because I think we grow up and we're told, oh, you must buy a house, get on that ladder, and that's exactly what we did. But now we don't do that. Now we rent the place where we live, but we own the places that we rent out to other people. So it's like, I think that's got to be.
So on leaving Europe, we've developed a more European attitude towards house purchase and renting then. Good. Okay, Mark, your question. I'm advised that a number of local authorities are now refusing consent for conversion of properties to HMOs. With such a shortage of housing, why is this? And is there an appeal process if an application is turned down?
Good question. So why is that in place? Why that is in place? Because HMOs are usually where we're taking a house or a building that was probably only designed for a family, and then we're putting a lot more people in it. So while there's a restriction in there, which is called Article 4, is because if there are too many of these in all one place, like in a condensed area, then obviously you're getting a lot of people in a lot of areas. So there could be things to do with parking, it could be things to do with the services, like the water and all of this, and just the general condensing the population of the area. So then the restriction is there to make sure that it's spaced out adequately. Is there an appeal process? And I think Trisha probably knows more about this than I do, whether there is one or not. I think there probably is an appeal process for everything these days, but what you do with it is another thing.
Yeah, I think so I do a lot with planning and working with the councils and our architects and stuff, and it's about finding out what they want in their areas. So there is something called an Article 4, as Mark was talking about, which meant basically an Article 4 direction or directive has been put in place in an area when there has been an over-intensification of HMOs in a given area. So maybe lots of neighbour complaints and lots of antisocial behaviour, things like that. So they put this in place so that it removes the right to just buy a property and turn it into a up to 6-person HMO under permitted development. That's all it means. It means if you've got 3 or more unrelated individuals living in a property as a HMO in an Article 4 area, you must obtain planning permission prior to actually turning it into HMO. So that's in an Article 4. There are also other areas that are not Article 4 where planning is more difficult as well, just to get into HMO. This could be in many factors. It could be, like Mark was saying, due to neighbour complaints and objections from like parking permits and things like that. But also, if you get an objection from a councillor that lives on that street, that it automatically goes to a committee meeting. And my experience of committee meetings, they don't like HMO very much. But again, a lot of it is not from current circumstances, it's all from past conditioning. Because the HMOs, when the Article 4s were put in place, possibly 2012 in some of our areas, were very different to what they're like hotels now, certainly the ones we provide. Very, very high finish.
All right. Great stuff. Thank you all very much indeed. That's all we've got time for in this half of the programme.